Estate, Charlie Pellet. Hey, Carol, some news in the world of real estate today. Apollo Global providing a $275 million loan to refi a pair of apartment towers in Manhattan's financial district. It's interesting because lenders, they've been active in financing luxury residential products in places such as Manhattan, South Florida.
Good market, strong market.
Yeah, demand for those areas remains high.
Yeah, they have been active. For some context on that demand, we bring back Louise Phillips Forbes, real estate broker at Brown Harris Stevens. She has sold close to $6 billion worth of real estate since she began back, was it in the 1990s?
1990s.
Still 1990. It's a lot. Hey, nice to have you here back in our Bloomberg Interactive Broker studio. I just want to start with something that, we are looking at a market that has had some nervousness in it today. We think it's pretty clear that there's concerns about tariffs out of the White House, what impact it will have on growth in the United States, just all of that. Tell me, coming into this, what do you want to tell me about what's going on in your world in terms of the market, the economy that I'm sure your clients talk to you about, the business backdrop, the economic backdrop? What are you hearing?
So I think there are a couple of things I would say. Everybody thinks that the real estate market is going to react in the same way, in the same time as the stock market, and that isn't necessarily the case. It does have cause and effects. I mean, I just literally on my way over here, I was like, how many deals do we have in contract right now? Over 10 million. It's 104.
Wow.
Ranging from 10 million and above up to 55
This
million.
is just Manhattan?
Just Manhattan.
Sounds like a lot. Is it a lot?
It's a lot. I mean, listen.
Is that typical? Is that where we were?
It feels like that somebody's not reading the news. However, people have been waiting a very long time. And I will say in March of 2000, the market dropped 600 points for me. And I was, thank goodness, I went to contract and I put $600,000 into real estate. So I was thinking, what would that have been worth if I didn't pull it out? So, there's a lot of things that affect our markets. You can go from inventory to interest rate, COVID, policy. Policy has a big play. It doesn't necessarily affect it, immediately, but immigration and who's going to be in our workforce, that's going to be an immediate impact along with tariffs.
So talk a little bit about that and how you're thinking about that as somebody who buys and sells real estate in New York City.
I mean, I can just speak about a small little minute example in my own portfolio of business. I did a renovation in 2019. That was 2,700 square feet. It cost us $430,000 to do this renovation. They have their own GC. It's a construction company who's also owns
GC meaning general contractor?
General contractor, but they also own $3 billion worth of real estate, so they know what they're doing.
Right.
Fast forward, this past fall, we completed the same exact renovation for $815,000. I mean, that is...
Is that a materials story or a labor story or yes and yes?
That is cause and effect of what we've all lived through globally.
But what does that mean? So to Tim's point, is it because the contractors, I have two brothers who work in contractors, they talk about lack of workers. They talk about higher materials costs. Is that what it is?
Yes. I mean, it's part of that, but it's also everything. I mean, codes and the policies of getting construction done in your buildings, since Surfside, the policies for safety are much more
The building collapse in Florida.
And much more impacting what it costs for insurance. My own insurance in my own co-op went up twice, 38%.
Yeah.
So it's pushed in every angle. And then you have this kind of attitude sort of politically and policies that are going to have impact. And it's
And yet you have more than 100 contracts waiting to be signed for
These
deals
are hard
of
deals.
10 million and above.
So it'll be interesting to see if any of those don't close.
Yeah.
Because they're concerned about this impact. But at that luxury price and that level, you're dealing with 1% of the 1% of 1%. It's not the everyday guy. It's not even the guy that's buying that renovation that I did for $830,000. They're thinking, shoo, that would be 1.4 for me.
Right.
So, but listen, we knew
Hence
it was
the market we talk about of the wealthy in kind of one class, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of folks who moves,
who are affected. I mean, they're listen, but
are having a tough time.
You start to see things that happen because of that cause and effect. If you think about, I was reading an article about generational wealth, and I'm looking at 50% of the first-time buyer transactions that I've done in the last 3 to 4 since COVID. I would say 50% of those are gifting or co-purchasing by parents. So, and they're referring to it as the silver tsunami. So,
Yeah.
it's interesting. And when
Right.
you talk to your wealth advisors, they're like, listen, there's going to be $4 trillion
Generational. Hey, it's Monday.
Yes, amen. I need another cup of coffee. But it's affecting that, and it's going to be passed down. And when you're also dealing with we have developers with the tariffs that are talking about putting in their contracts contingencies. And who's going to sign a contract when you're not sure what 25% mean? What does that mean? So it's going to remain to be interesting.
Andrew Cuomo jumping into the mayor's race. Does
I had a feeling you were going to go there.
Well, I'm just wondering, we talk so much when we talk politics, we talk at the national level and out of Washington, D.C., but your world is so focused on New York City.
Sure. I mean,
Does
listen,
the who's mayor matter?
who governor and mayor and how they work together matter, but those policies, when you had Bloomberg for 12 years, he, rezoned 41% of the landmass of Manhattan. It was tremendous growth and employment and, areas that were not appreciating that have now become great anchors for a whole area. We need strong leadership, no matter who it is. We need strong leadership. And it also has to be somebody who understands cause and effect and is interested in the growth and also the well-being of our quality of life.
Are you at all concerned about Governor Hochul going up against President Trump and the way that, we saw with congestion pricing, Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, essentially saying a couple weeks ago, we're going after it. The governor of New York saying, no, you're not. It's the state fighting the federal government. Does that concern you?
I think that, everybody who has sort of witnessed and experienced some of the transactional tone that Trump has is a tit for tat. That can be concerning. But I also believe that, look, I don't like congestion. I don't like that tax. It's costing me $3,000 a year to go to work. But if it's for the good of the people in general, then I'm grateful that I can pay for it.
Louise, one thing I want to ask you.
I'm going to tell you about the subway when we're off air.
Oh, okay. All right.
We can talk about using,
All right.
It's okay.
I do use it a lot.
Okay.
I do use it a lot.
I want to ask
It's
you.
my mobile office.
Okay.
There's policy, there's also rate environment. And mortgage rates in the U.S. dropped for a 6 week.
Hey,
Week.
6.4 today, right?
Right. Falling to the lowest level in more than 2 months. Yeah, exactly. So I love it. You knew it. Right on it. And that's one of the things we've been talking, just looking at the U.S. Treasury curve. It's one day trade. But are you seeing, our story last week said, as they've seen mortgage rates go down, that you're starting to see supply increase because people are now willing to maybe let go. And maybe, so are you seeing any signs of that?
Absolutely. I mean, I've had more bidding wars. I've been outbid more in the last 2 months. I mean, listen,
But people are willing to start to let go of homes because
yes. And what they wouldn't do then, they will do now. And each of those, some of them have personal circumstances, but I think it's also an attitude and a tone, like how long are you going to wait?
Yeah.
And what are the policies that are being implemented now going to be in 6 months? We know it usually takes 6 months to see it in the real estate transactions.
Right.
Right? That cause and effect, unlike the stock market today. So I think that what's right for one person might not be right for another person, but we are absolutely seeing a attitude shift for, I would say, the smart, bigger picture people.
So two things, people willing to buy because they're comfortable where the rate is, and people who are in a home who've maybe had a low mortgage willing to let go? Or are we not
I think the
seeing
low
that
mortgage thing is not a conversation as much as the next chapter of their life is a conversation.
Okay.
They're not letting go because there's nothing else to get.
Yeah.
So if you're going to, I don't know, Colorado, wherever there's some inventory that's not 32 people bidding on one unit, then you might let go of your place in Darien, Connecticut that has like 17 homes on the market, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that those are things that we're up against. I'll also just say that interesting, the second week in February, they did 41 transactions in 1 week north of 4 million. And that is the most activity that we have seen in that sector since 2022, since March of 2022.
Where's weakness in the market? What price point?
Priced incorrectly, homes that are priced incorrectly.
I mean, too high or too low?
Look, the low. I mean, every sector is moving if it's priced right. So, I mean, that's why we have 104 units that are in contract for north of 10 million. I bet if I was to really do the analysis, that those are all had multiple price reductions.
Nothing in here says recession to you? Just quickly, just got about 25 seconds.
Not
You hesitated.
No, I'm just trying to be thoughtful.
Okay.
I feel that people have been just through. People can date their rate and marry their home and refinance, and I think that's a lot of the attitude for people, and that's why you have parents more willing to take their inheritance and let them experience it, use it, have it, than waiting for them to pass away.
I hear that from a lot of families. Nice to check in with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Louise Phillips Forbes, real estate broker at Brown Harris Stevens, joining us once again right here in our New York studio. Folks, you are listening and watching Bloomberg Business Week.